Move her. She doesn't belong there. My father's voice cut through the Christmas table like a knife scraping porcelain. Not loud. Not angry. Worse, casual. Dismissive. As if my 9-year-old daughter was an inconvenience someone forgot to clear away. This seat is for my real granddaughter, he added, waving his hand. Get out. Then he pushed her. Not hard enough to look violent. Just enough. Her chair screeched backward. Her small body lost balance. She fell, palms scraping the floor, knees hitting first. Right there under the chandelier my mother polished every December like it was sacred. No one screamed. No one stood up. Forks froze mid-air. Glasses hovered near lips. Silence wrapped around my daughter's quiet gasp like a coffin. For a second I thought the room had stopped breathing. I didn't cry. I didn't rush to her. Something colder took over first. Hi everyone. My name is Evelyn Harper. I'm a single mother. And that little girl on the floor, the one staring at her hands like she wasn't sure they still belonged to her, that's my daughter Lila. Christmas had always been complicated in my family, but that night felt different from the moment I walked in. The air smelled too sweet. The smiles were too tight. My father hadn't hugged Lila. He barely looked at her. He kept calling my sister's daughter my angel, and my legacy, like words were coins he was handing out. Lila had been so proud of her dress. Red velvet. White buttons. She told me she wanted to sit where Grandpa can see me. Now she was on the floor. Her eyes lifted slowly, searching faces. My sister stared at her plate. My brother-in-law adjusted his napkin. My mother raised her wine glass with a trembling hand, then stopped. That's when I spoke. 4 words. Not loud. Not angry. Measured. I think we're done. My mother's glass slipped from her fingers. Wine shattered across the tablecloth, red spreading like a stain no one could pretend not to see. And for the first time that night, my father looked scared. If this ever happened to you, say, same in the comments. The glass rolled once before stopping against the salt shaker. No one moved to clean it. My mother stared at the spill like it was proof of something she'd tried to deny for years. My father's hand hovered in the air, frozen where it had been seconds earlier, commanding, entitled. Now it looked uncertain. Small. Lila was still on the floor. That's when I moved. I didn't rush. I didn't make a scene. I pushed my chair back slowly, the legs scraping the hardwood loud enough to break the silence. I knelt beside my daughter and felt her shaking before she even spoke. Mama, she whispered. Did I do something wrong? That question split something open in me. No, I said softly, brushing dust from her knees. You did nothing wrong. I stood up with her in my arms and turned back to the table. Everyone avoided my eyes. Everyone except my father. You're overreacting, he said. Kids fall. I looked at him. Really looked. At the man who taught me how to ride a bike. At the man who stopped showing up the moment I had a child without a husband attached. You didn't push a chair, I said. You pushed a child. My sister finally looked up. Evelyn, please. It's Christmas. That's exactly why this matters, I replied. I took one step back toward the door. Behind me my father's voice cracked. Sit down. We're not finished. I smiled, small cold. Oh, I said. We are. And that was the moment he realized. This wasn't about dinner anymore. My hand was on the back of the chair when my father stood up. The sound of it, wood scraping wood, felt louder than his voice ever had. You walk out that door, he said, jaw tight, and don't bother coming back. Lila's fingers curled into my sweater. I turned slowly. The room felt smaller now, like the walls were leaning in to listen. You already decided I wasn't family, I said. Tonight you just said it out loud. My mother finally found her voice. Evelyn, he didn't mean it like that. I looked at her. The woman who taught me to say thank you and sorry before I knew how to spell my own name. Her hands were shaking, but she still didn't come to Lila. He meant it exactly how it landed, I replied. My sister exhaled sharply. Why are you doing this? You're ruining everything. I laughed once. Quiet. Almost surprised. No, I said. I'm just refusing to be quiet anymore. My father took a step toward us. Instinctively Lila flinched. That did it. Something old and buried rose up. Every ignored birthday, every sideways comment, Every reminder that I'd chosen the wrong life, the wrong man, the wrong path. I leaned in close enough that only he could hear me. I said 4 words for a reason, I whispered. And now comes the rest. His face drained of color. As he knew. I never spoke unless I was ready to finish something. The room held its breath. My father's mouth opened, then closed again, like he was recalculating everything he thought he knew about me. For most of my life I'd been the quiet one. The one who absorbed. The one who smoothed things over so holidays could survive. Not tonight. What are you talking about? He asked, forcing a laugh that landed wrong. You're being dramatic. I adjusted Lila higher on my hip. She was still shaking, but her face was turned into my shoulder now, no longer searching the room for kindness that wasn't there. You remember the house, I said calmly. My mother stiffened. The one Grandma left behind, I continued. The one you said was too complicated to put in my name because I was young. The one you promised would always be mine. My father's eyes flicked to my sister. Just once. That was all I needed. You signed it over, I said. To her. Quietly. Years ago. My sister shot to her feet. That's ancient history. No, I replied. It's unfinished business. My mother sank into her chair, whispering my name like a warning. You told me family takes care of family, I went on, voice steady. So I trusted you. Even when you cut me out. Even when you treated my daughter like she was temporary. My father swallowed hard. What does this have to do with tonight? He asked. I looked down at Lila's scraped knees. Everything, I said. And then I took the envelope from my coat pocket. The envelope wasn't dramatic. No bold letters. No official seal screaming importance. Just thick paper, creased once from where I'd folded it too carefully. My father's eyes locked onto it anyway, like his body recognized danger before his pride did. What is that? He asked. I didn't answer him. I placed the envelope gently on the table, right beside the broken wine glass. Red liquid still pooled there, soaking into the white cloth my mother had ironed that morning. It's funny, I said softly, how silence can look like obedience. My sister crossed her arms. You don't get to come in here and make threats. I'm not, I replied. I'm explaining consequences. I slid the papers halfway out. Deeds. Dates. Signatures. His signature. My mother covered her mouth. You transferred the house, I continued, but you forgot something important. Grandma didn't just leave property. She left conditions. My father's breathing changed, shallow now. She trusted me, he snapped. She trusted me, I corrected. You were just the middleman. Lila lifted her head slightly, listening. I kissed her hair. The clause said if I was ever excluded from the family home, I said, eyes fixed on him, the trust reverts immediately. My sister laughed nervously. That's not real. I finally met my father's gaze. You pushed my daughter out of her seat, I said. And with that, you triggered it. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. For the first time in his life. My father had nothing to say. The ticking grew unbearable. My father reached for the papers, then stopped, his hand hovering the way it had when he pushed Lila, except now it shook. Power looks different when it realizes it's temporary. You're bluffing, he said, but the words were thin. Hollow. I shook my head slowly. I already sent the copies. My mother looked up sharply. Sent? Where? To the attorney, I replied. And to the trustee. Tonight was never about convincing you. It was about confirming something. My sister's voice cracked. You planned this. I looked at her, really looked. At the woman who had let my child sit on the floor to protect her comfort. I hoped I wouldn't need it, I said. I hoped you'd prove me wrong. Lila shifted in my arms. Mama. Are we in trouble? No, I said immediately. We're safe. Those words tasted like truth for the first time in years. My father sank back into his chair. The man who once filled every room now looked smaller than the table in front of him. You'd tear this family apart over a seat? He whispered. I leaned forward, voice low, controlled. No, I said. I'd rebuild my daughter's worth over anything. Silence followed. Heavy. Final. Then my mother stood up. She walked past my father. And stopped. Right beside me. My mother didn't touch me at first. She just stood there, close enough that I could smell her perfume. the same one she'd worn my whole childhood. Lavender and something sharper underneath. Regret, maybe. I didn't protect you, she said quietly. Not to the room. To me. And I didn't protect her. My father looked up, startled. What are you doing? She didn't turn around. For once, she said, the right thing. That was when something inside me finally loosened. Not relief, not forgiveness, but clarity. The kind that arrives after a long illness, when the fever breaks and you realize how sick you were. My sister's eyes filled with tears. Mom, you can't just. She can, I interrupted. She always could. I set Lila down gently. She stood on her own this time. Straight. Brave. My mother knelt and held her hands, really looking at her like she mattered. I'm sorry, she whispered. Lila nodded once. That was all. I picked up the envelope again. The house goes back into trust tonight. I won't live in it. I'll sell it. My father's head snapped up. You can't. I can, I said. And I will. I looked around the table one last time. This ends now, I added. Not with yelling. With truth. My father finally understood. He hadn't lost property. He'd lost authority. And he'd never get it back. No one tried to stop me when I picked up my coat. No one followed as I opened the door. Cold air rushed in, sharp and clean, cutting through the heavy warmth of the dining room. Lila slipped her small hand into mine, steady this time. No shaking. No hesitation. Behind us, I heard my father say my name. Not loud. Not commanding. Small. I paused, but I didn't turn around. Some things don't deserve your face anymore. Outside, the Christmas lights blinked softly along the street. Other families laughed behind other doors. Life continued, unaware of the line that had just been crossed and sealed. We walked to the car. I buckled Lila in, careful around her knees. Mama, she said, looking up at me. Did I do good? I swallowed once. You did nothing wrong, I said. You were always enough. I closed the door and rested my forehead against the cold metal for a second. Not crying. Just breathing. By morning the lawyer would call. By night, the house would no longer belong to anyone who believed blood was permission to harm. My mother would choose. My sister would adapt. My father would sit alone at a table that finally reflected who he was. And my daughter? She would grow up knowing this. Silence is a choice. And I chose her.